Settle in, my friend. Let the gentle hum of your device be a lullaby, a quiet invitation to drift. The world outside, with its insistent demands and clamorous notifications, can wait. For now, we journey inward and backward into the whispered echoes of a time long past. Imagine, if you will, a vast, shimmering expanse of sapphire blue, stretching to an horizon where the sky meets the sea in a seamless, hazy embrace. The air here is warm, thick with the scent of salt and something else. Something exotic, like blooming night jasmine carried on a breeze from an unseen shore. You stand not on solid ground, but on the deck of a vessel, a small, unassuming craft that glides with effortless grace across the placid surface of an ancient ocean. The sun, a benevolent orb, dips low in the sky, painting the clouds in hues of apricot and rose, a masterpiece only nature could conceive. Below you, the rhythmic lapping of water against wood is a soothing mantra, a steady beat that invites your shoulders to relax, your eyelids to grow heavy. There's no rush here, no urgent destination, just the quiet unfolding of time itself. You might find yourself wondering, as the stars begin to prickle through the darkening canvas above, if this journey is even real. And that, my dear companion, is precisely the point. We are about to delve into a story so steeped in myth, so entwined with the very fabric of human yearning, that its reality becomes a matter of perspective, a gentle query whispered on the wind. You might even find that you won't make it through this day, not in the traditional sense, but will instead slip into a dreamscape woven from forgotten legends. Before we truly surrender to the tide of history, if you find this quiet companionship to your liking, a gentle tap on that like button would be most appreciated. And if you're inclined to stay a while, perhaps even for the entire epic, consider subscribing to our little sanctuary of slumber. It helps us know that these quiet voyages are reaching those who seek them. And if you're comfortable, do let us know in the comments where you are in the world right now, and what time it is for you. A shared moment across vast distances is a rather lovely thought, isn't it? Now let's ease into tonight's journey. A journey to a place whispered about in ancient texts, a city that once, perhaps, kissed the clouds and then, quite dramatically, decided to become one with the ocean floor. The air around you, once warm, begins to carry a subtle chill, not unpleasant, but a gentle reminder of the ocean's vastness. You can almost taste the brine on your lips, feel the gentle sway of the unseen boat beneath you. This is the Atlantic, or what would one day be called the Atlantic, long before it earned its rather dramatic name. And in this particular corner of it, a place that ancient Greek philosopher Plato, with his penchant for grand narratives, would later describe, there existed a civilization of remarkable ingenuity, and perhaps even more remarkable hubris. Imagine, if you will, a ring of land, then another and another. Concentric circles of earth and water, like the ripples from a stone tossed into a perfectly still pond. This wasn't some haphazard collection of dwellings, mind you, but a masterwork of engineering, a testament to a people who seemingly understood the very heartbeat of the planet. Their canals weren't just for irrigation. They were highways, arteries of commerce, shimmering pathways reflecting the sun. It's almost as if they looked at a modern city map, with its perfectly gridded streets and organized blocks, and thought, hold my olive oil. The central island, the very heart of this grand design, housed the king's palace, a structure said to be gilded with orichalcum, a metal so mysterious it sounds like it was invented by a particularly imaginative D&D dungeon master. Orichalcum, if it existed as they claimed, was apparently second only to gold in value, glowing with a soft, fiery light. You can almost feel the warmth radiating from it, a gentle pulse in the heart of this ancient metropolis. Think of the sheer audacity, the architectural swagger, to not just build a city, but to construct it in such a symmetrical, almost divine, pattern. It suggests a society deeply concerned with order, with beauty, and perhaps with projecting an image of unassailable power. It was the kind of place where, even if you were just a humble fisherman bringing in the day's catch, you'd probably still feel a subtle pressure to have perfectly symmetrical scales on your fish. Historians still debate whether Plato's account was a literal history or an elaborate allegory, a cautionary tale disguised as a travelogue. But for now, let's allow ourselves the gentle suspension of disbelief and simply imagine what it must have been like to wake up in such a place, to the gentle lapping of water against the city's many channels, to the distant murmur of voices, and perhaps the clinking of that mysterious orichalcum as it caught the first rays of dawn. It certainly beats waking up to the insistent blare of a modern alarm clock, doesn't it? A society that built a whole city out of concentric circles clearly had a strong sense of personal space, or at least a lot of very specific zoning regulations. As the faint glow of the distant city begins to emerge from the pre-dawn gloom, you might notice the air itself seems different, heavier, perhaps with the accumulated weight of untold stories. You are no longer on the open sea, but have somehow imperceptibly been drawn closer, drawn into the very aura of this lost civilization. The gentle rocking has ceased, replaced by the soft, rhythmic sound of water meeting stone, a sound that promises permanence. Imagine stepping onto a quay, cool and smooth beneath your bare feet, worn by the passage of countless similar footsteps centuries ago. The light here is still dim, but enough to make out the colossal blocks of stone that form the city's outer ring. These aren't just any stones. They are the kind that make you wonder how on earth ancient people, without the benefit of enormous cranes or industrial-strength forklifts, managed to hoist them into place. Perhaps they simply asked very nicely, or maybe they had truly excellent snacks for their construction crews. The engineering involved in moving such monolithic structures is, frankly, mind-boggling. Almost as mind-boggling as trying to assemble flat-pack furniture without clear instructions. You begin to walk, following a path that winds gently inward toward the heart of the city. The air is still cool, but the scent of salt has lessened, replaced by something sweeter, something floral and earthy. This is not the wild, untamed nature of a remote island, but a carefully cultivated landscape, a testament to human design. You pass by gardens, even in this dim light. You can discern the meticulous patterns of planted flora, exotic blooms that might only exist in the annals of long-forgotten botanical texts. Imagine a flower so vibrant, so utterly unlike anything you've ever seen, that its petals seem to shimmer with an inner light. It's almost as if the Atlanteans had their own version of a plant influencer, who insisted on the most Instagram-worthy flora. This attention to detail, even in the botanical realm, speaks volumes about a society that valued beauty as much as utility. They didn't just build, they adorned. They didn't just grow, they cultivated art. As you venture deeper, the first hints of the city's inhabitants begin to emerge. You hear the distant murmur of voices, a low hum that suggests an awakening metropolis. It's not the frantic cacophony of a modern city at rush hour, but a more measured, almost melodic sound, like a well-rehearsed chorus preparing for their morning performance. You catch glimpses of figures in the fading twilight, moving with a grace that suggests a life unhurried, unburdened by the digital clamor of our own age. Their clothing, even from this distance, appears to be made of fine, flowing fabrics, dyed in rich, earthy tones, deep blues, burnished reds, and greens that echo the surrounding landscape. No fast fashion here, just timeless elegance. You wonder what their daily rituals were, what their morning greetings sounded like, if they had their own version of a morning coffee run, perhaps with some delightfully exotic beverage brewed from local herbs. The major historical fact we can glean from Plato's accounts, beyond the general outline of the city, is their exceptional mastery of engineering, particularly hydraulic engineering. Their elaborate system of canals, both for transport and perhaps even for temperature regulation within the city, speaks of a profound understanding of water flow and pressure. They were, in essence, the ancient world's master plumbers, but with much grander designs. The obscure cultural tidbit that might make you chuckle is their apparent fondness for bull leaping, a sport described as a ritualistic display of agility and bravery. Imagine, instead of watching a football match, the entire city gathering to witness someone bravely vaulting over a charging bull. It certainly makes your average Saturday afternoon seem a bit mundane, doesn't it? Though, perhaps, less prone to broken bones. As the city continues to awaken, you notice a subtle shift in the air, a faint warmth that seems to emanate from the very stones. Perhaps it's the rising sun, or perhaps it's the residual energy of the Orichalcum, that mysterious metal. Or perhaps it's just your imagination, gently lulling you further into this ancient dream. Remember the concentric rings of the city, those perfect circles within circles? Well, it wasn't just for show. These channels were navigable, meaning boats could literally sail from the outermost parts of the city right into the central harbor, delivering goods and people with remarkable efficiency. Imagine never having to deal with traffic jams, just a serene boat ride to your destination. It almost makes you want to pack your bags and move to the nearest hypothetical lost city. The morning light, now truly asserting itself, paints the city a new revealing glow. You stand now in what feels like a public square, a vast open space designed not just for passage, but for gathering, for the ebb and flow of daily life. The air is vibrant with sounds you hadn't noticed before, the distant clatter of tools, the soft murmur of conversations, the faint sweet scent of baking bread carried on a gentle breeze. It's not a bustling, frantic energy, but a steady, purposeful rhythm, like a well-oiled machine operating in perfect harmony. You notice the pathways underfoot are not rough-hewn stone, but polished, almost luminous, as if infused with a soft inner light. Perhaps it's just the unique properties of the local rock, or perhaps, once again, that subtle, almost magical presence of orichalcum woven into the very fabric of their infrastructure. It certainly beats the uneven pavement you might encounter on your morning stroll, doesn't it? The people you now see are not just fleeting glimpses. They are engaged in their morning routines. You observe merchants setting up their stalls, arranging vibrant textiles and exotic fruits in neat, appealing displays. Imagine holding a fruit in your hand, its skin shimmering with an iridescent quality, its scent intoxicatingly sweet, unlike anything you've ever tasted. Children, their laughter like tiny bells, chase each other through the square, their energy a delightful counterpoint to the more measured movements of the adults. They seem unburdened, their play echoing the simple joys of childhood in any era, though perhaps with a greater appreciation for not tripping over stray bull-leaping equipment. One small detail that catches your eye. Even the simplest vendors seem to have an innate sense of aesthetic, arranging their wares not just for utility, but for beauty, almost as if every transaction was a miniature art exhibition. It's enough to make you wonder if even their accountants had a flair for interior design. As you wander, you become aware of the sheer scale of the architecture. The buildings are not towering skyscrapers, but rather expansive, low-slung structures that stretch gracefully, seamlessly blending into the natural contours of the land. Their materials are varied. Some are constructed from a dark, almost obsidian-like stone, others from a reddish rock that seems to glow in the sunlight. And then, of course, there's the tantalizing gleam of orichalcum here and there, highlighting cornices or adorning grand doorways. It's not flashy, not ostentatious, but deeply integrated, like a well-chosen accessory that elevates an already elegant outfit. This architectural choice, favoring width and harmony over vertical ambition, suggests a culture deeply connected to its environment, perhaps even reverent of it. They weren't trying to conquer nature. They were trying to live in serene partnership with it. The major historical fact here, according to Plato, is the Atlanteans' immense wealth and abundant natural resources. He describes an island rich in minerals, timber, and fertile land, capable of sustaining a large population and supporting their extravagant lifestyle. They truly seem to have it all, the envy of any ancient civilization, or indeed, any modern one desperately trying to meet its quarterly earnings reports. The obscure cultural tidbit that might make you ponder. The Atlanteans reportedly had a sophisticated system of hot and cold springs, which they channeled into public baths. These weren't just places for hygiene. They were social hubs, places for relaxation and philosophical discourse. Imagine a world where your daily commute involved a soothing soak rather than a cramped train ride. Suddenly, the idea of a spa day seems like a rather ancient concept, just with less scented candles and perhaps more philosophical debate about the optimal temperature for a good soak. You might wonder, as you observe this seemingly idyllic scene, what could possibly go wrong? This society, with its apparent mastery over nature, its abundance, its beauty, it seems almost too perfect. Historians still debate whether the descriptions of Atlantean society in Plato's dialogues were meant to be an idealized blueprint for a perfect state, or a cautionary tale about the corrupting influence of power and luxury. But for now, let's just appreciate the gentle hum of this morning, the quiet industry, and the simple elegance of a civilization that, for a time, seemed to exist in perfect equilibrium. You can almost feel the gentle warmth of the sun on your face, the soft breeze rustling your clothes, and the subtle scent of those exotic blossoms clinging to the air. It's the kind of morning that makes you want to linger, to simply exist in its quiet perfection. As the sun climbs higher, casting long, slender shadows across the public square, the city truly comes alive, though still with that characteristic Atlantean gentleness. The sounds grow a little louder, the movements a little more pronounced, but never chaotic, never jarring. It's as if every individual plays their part in a grand, unspoken symphony. You might notice the precision of their movements, the almost balletic way people navigate the pathways, a testament to a life lived in harmony, perhaps even in deep understanding of one another's rhythms. It's the kind of coordination you usually only see in synchronized swimming, but applied to an entire metropolis. You find yourself drawn towards the inner rings, where the architecture seems to grow increasingly grand, yet still retaining that elegant, understated beauty. Here, the Orichalcum is more prominent, not just as accents, but forming entire facades, shimmering with that soft, internal glow that seems to absorb and reflect the sunlight in equal measure. Imagine walking down a street where the very buildings seem to pulse with a gentle, living light. It's a far cry from the utilitarian concrete structures of our own world, isn't it? These are not just buildings. They are statements, works of art that also happen to provide shelter. You pass by what appear to be public institutions, perhaps temples or centers of learning. Their entrances are grand, adorned with intricate carvings that depict scenes of nature, of celestial bodies, and of figures that seem almost godlike in their serene power. These aren't the aggressive, warlike deities often found in other ancient pantheons, but rather figures of wisdom, of creativity, of balance. It speaks to a civilization that, at least initially, seemed to prioritize intellectual and spiritual pursuits as much as material prosperity. You won't find any giant billboards advertising cheap sandals here, that's for sure. The major historical fact we must consider now is the Atlanteans' advanced knowledge of astronomy and navigation. Plato describes them as skilled seafarers, capable of traversing vast oceans, and implies a deep understanding of the stars and celestial movements. This wasn't just about getting from point A to point B. It was about truly mastering their environment, about understanding the interconnectedness of the heavens and the earth. They were, in essence, the ancient world's GPS, but powered by constellations instead of satellites. The obscure cultural tidbit that might surprise you is their purported reverence for bulls. Not just for the sport of bull leaping, but bulls were considered sacred animals, often depicted in their art and rituals, symbolizing strength, fertility, and divine power. It's a bit like how some cultures revere cats, but on a much, much larger and considerably more honed scale. As you observe the Atlanteans interacting, you notice a distinct lack of overt displays of emotion. There's a quiet dignity to their movements, a calm reserve in their expressions. It's not coldness, but a sense of profound inner peace, or perhaps a well-practiced composure. You rarely see them rushing, or speaking loudly, or engaging in any kind of frantic activity. It's almost as if they had perfected the art of mindfulness long before it became a popular buzzword. Historians still debate whether this placid demeanor was a genuine reflection of their inner state or a cultural facade, a societal expectation of serene conduct. But for now, you can appreciate the calm, the quiet efficiency, the sense of unhurried purpose that permeates every corner of this magnificent, concentric city. The sun now truly warms your skin, and the air is filled with a gentle, almost hypnotic hum. The sound of a world, at least for a time, in perfect, prosperous harmony. It's the kind of place where even the most stressed modern individual might find themselves unconsciously taking a deep, slow breath and thinking, you know what? I think I'll just sit here for a bit. The midday sun, now directly overhead, casts sharp, defiant shadows, yet the heat in Atlantis doesn't feel oppressive. There's a subtle, constant breeze, carried through the intricate network of canals and open spaces, a testament to their foresight in urban planning. You can almost feel the gentle currents of air whispering past you, a natural air conditioning system that puts our modern climate control to shame. This is not the stuffy, stale air of crowded streets. It's fresh, alive, carrying the faint, clean scent of the ocean, mingling with the cultivated fragrances of their gardens. You notice how the light plays on the Orichalcum surfaces, reflecting off the metal in shimmering, dancing patterns that seem to shift and evolve with every passing cloud. It's like the city itself is breathing, its very skin alive with light. You wander further, and the distinct sound of flowing water becomes more pronounced, a constant, soothing backdrop to the city's gentle hum. You see the canals up close now, their banks lined with smooth, polished stone, and the water within them is remarkably clear, almost crystalline. Small, elegant boats, propelled by unseen mechanisms or perhaps just a gentle current, glide silently along these waterways. They are not grand, ornate vessels, but rather practical, beautifully crafted conveyances, their wooden hulls gleaming. People move about on them with an easy familiarity, delivering goods, traveling to different districts, or simply enjoying the peaceful journey. It's a traffic system that makes you wonder if they ever experienced road rage, or if their biggest complaint was simply a misplaced paddle. As you observe the flow of daily life, a major historical fact emerges from Plato's narrative. The Atlanteans' government was a highly organized system, initially founded on divine principles and administered by 10 kings, descendants of Poseidon himself. Each king ruled over a distinct district, but they convened regularly in a central council to make decisions for the entire realm. Imagine a boardroom meeting where everyone is a demigod, and the stakes are quite literally divine. This hierarchical structure, with its divine mandate, surely contributed to the early stability and prosperity of Atlantis. It certainly puts a different spin on local council meetings. An obscure cultural tidbit that might bring a gentle smile to your lips. The Atlanteans reportedly had a particular fondness for feasts and elaborate communal meals, often held in grand public dining halls. These weren't just about sustenance. They were occasions for storytelling, for music, for philosophical discourse. Imagine sitting at a long table, laden with exotic dishes and brimming goblets, sharing tales under the warm glow of Orichalcum lamps, surrounded by laughter and quiet conversation. It makes your average potluck seem a bit understated. There's a distinct feeling here of a society that understood the importance of shared experience, of connection, beyond mere commerce. As you drift through this serene mid-morning, a subtle unease might begin to stir within you. This perfection, this apparent endless prosperity and harmony, it seems almost too good to be true. Historians still debate whether Plato's portrayal of this initial perfection was designed to highlight the eventual decline, a stark contrast to the hubris that would later consume them. You might catch a glimpse of a solemn-faced priest, or a warrior with a stern gaze, and for a fleeting moment, the placid surface of Atlantean life seems to ripple with an unspoken tension, a hint of the grand dramatic narrative yet to unfold. For now, however, the sun is high, the water flows, and the city hums with a quiet, prosperous energy, inviting you to simply be present within its ancient, luminous embrace. As the midday sun arcs towards its zenith, the vibrancy of Atlantean life continues to unfold, revealing more layers of its unique societal tapestry. You might notice the precision with which everything is maintained. The stone pathways are spotless, the canals free of debris, the gardens meticulously tended. There's a pervasive sense of order, not rigid or stifling, but almost organic, as if every element of the city instinctively knows its place and purpose. It's the kind of place where even a stray leaf would probably feel self-conscious. You find yourself drawn towards one of the city's many public buildings, perhaps a forum or a grand marketplace. Here, the hum of voices is a little louder, the activity a little more focused. You see individuals engaged in what appear to be various professions, artisans meticulously crafting intricate jewelry from shimmering metals, scribes carefully inscribing texts onto scrolls, and scholars engaged in earnest, quiet debate. Their movements are deliberate, their focus intense, yet without any sense of hurriedness. It's almost as if they had figured out how to be productive without ever breaking a sweat, a secret surely coveted by every modern professional. The attire of the Atlanteans continues to fascinate you. While there's a general consistency in their flowing fabrics and earthy tones, you notice subtle distinctions that hint at different roles or statuses within their society. Some wear simpler, unadorned robes, while others display intricate embroidery or delicate adornments, perhaps crafted from local gemstones or the rare, gleaming Orichalcum itself. It's a system of quiet signaling, far more understated than the brand labels we use today to denote status. You won't find any Atlantean logos here, just subtle elegance. The major historical fact we glean from Plato's account at this stage is the Atlanteans' significant military prowess and their imperial ambitions. Initially, their power was used for defense and maintaining internal order, but as time progressed, their wealth and might led them to conquer neighboring islands and even parts of the mainland, extending their dominion far beyond their concentric city. Imagine a naval force so formidable, it made even the most seasoned sea captains of the ancient world think twice. Their ships were said to be numerous and well-equipped, capable of traversing vast distances with remarkable speed. It's almost as if they invented the concept of power projection millennia before anyone else. An obscure cultural tidbit that reveals their unique perspective. The Atlanteans reportedly had a deep respect for heredity and lineage, believing that the virtues and wisdom of their divine ancestors flowed through their bloodlines. This wasn't just about noble birth. It was a profound spiritual belief that guided their societal structure and their sense of purpose. It's a bit like believing your family tree doubles as a cheat code for life. They even had specific rituals to honor their forebears, a practice that certainly put our occasional family reunions to shame. As you continue to observe, the initial impression of pure serenity begins to be subtly challenged. Beneath the veneer of order and prosperity, a faint whisper of change, a nascent ambition, seems to stir. Historians still debate whether this shift from virtue to avarice was an inevitable consequence of immense power, or a gradual erosion of their founding principles, perhaps influenced by external interactions. You might catch a glimpse of a group of Atlantean warriors. They're bearing proud and disciplined, their weapons gleaming with that telltale hint of orichalcum. They are not overtly menacing, but their very presence suggests a different kind of power, a capacity for action beyond the quiet rhythms of the city. The sun casts longer shadows now, hinting at the turning tide of the day, and perhaps the turning tide of Atlantis' own destiny. As the afternoon sun begins its slow descent, painting the sky in softer, warmer hues, you find yourself drawn to the outer reaches of the Atlantean capital, towards the fertile plains beyond the concentric rings of the city. Here, the hum of urban life fades, replaced by the gentle rustle of leaves and the distant lowing of cattle. This is where the true agricultural might of Atlantis becomes apparent, a testament to their ability to coax abundance from the earth. You see vast, meticulously cultivated fields stretching as far as the eye can see, organized with the same precision that defines their city. Imagine crops so lush, so perfectly arrayed, that they look less like farmland and more like an elaborate, edible mosaic. You observe farmers, their movements rhythmic and unhurried, tending to their crops with a quiet diligence. They don't seem to toil in the sweat-soaked exhaustion often associated with ancient agriculture. Instead, there's a sense of harmony, of working with the land rather than against it. Perhaps it's the rich volcanic soil Plato describes, or perhaps some ingenious Atlantean irrigation technique that made their efforts so fruitful. It makes you wonder if they had some kind of ancient organic farming guru who insisted on very specific planting patterns. You might even catch the scent of freshly tilled earth, a grounding aroma that speaks of sustenance and enduring life. The major historical fact that comes into sharper focus here is the Atlanteans' self-sufficiency and abundant agricultural output. Plato specifically highlights their ability to produce 2 harvests a year, thanks to a sophisticated system of irrigation channels drawing water from rivers and springs. This remarkable agricultural productivity was not just about feeding their population. It was a cornerstone of their immense wealth, allowing them to trade and sustain their growing empire. Think of it, an entire civilization that never had to worry about a bad growing season or a supply chain issue. It sounds almost impossibly idyllic, a bit like having a perpetually full fridge that restocks itself. An obscure cultural tidbit that might surprise you. The Atlanteans reportedly had a deep understanding of herbal medicine and natural healing. Their knowledge of the island's flora and fauna was extensive, allowing them to cultivate plants not just for food, but for medicinal purposes, creating remedies that might astound modern pharmacology. Imagine a world where your common cold was cured by a wonderfully fragrant tea brewed from some exotic, glowing flower rather than a generic cough syrup. They truly seem to have unlocked nature's pharmacy, perhaps even before nature realized it was a pharmacy. As you gaze across these fertile plains, a thought might settle gently in your mind. How easy it would be, with such abundance, to forget the struggles of others, to become complacent in one's own prosperity. Historians still debate whether this very abundance contributed to their eventual moral decline, as the necessity for hard work and communal cooperation gradually gave way to luxury and hubris. But for now, the scene is one of serene prosperity, a testament to human ingenuity applied to the most fundamental of needs. The sun dips lower, casting long golden light across the fields, making every stalk of grain, every leaf, seem to glow with an inner vitality. It's the kind of peaceful, productive landscape that makes you feel, for a moment, that all is well with the world, or at least, with this particular ancient island. As the golden light of late afternoon begins to stretch and deepen, casting long, dramatic shadows, you find yourself back within the city's concentric rings, specifically in an area that seems dedicated to the Atlantean military. The atmosphere here is subtly different. While still retaining the overall sense of order, there's an underlying current of discipline, of readiness. You see barracks, not ostentatious or sprawling, but well-maintained, built from sturdy, darker stone that contrasts with the lighter, more decorative materials of the residential areas. The faint clang of metal on metal, the rhythmic thud of feet on stone, replaces the softer sounds of the marketplace. It's the kind of soundscape that tells you, without words, that this society, for all its beauty, is also prepared. You observe Atlantean warriors in various stages of training or parade. They move with a quiet efficiency, their movements precise and coordinated. Their armor, though not heavily ornamented, appears robust and functional, glinting with the subtle, unmistakable sheen of Orichalcum accents, perhaps on their breastplates, their helmets, or the tips of their spears. This metal, once a symbol of opulence and beauty, here takes on a more serious, formidable aspect. It's a reminder that beauty and power, in the wrong hands, can lead to rather dramatic consequences. Their training isn't about brute force, but about disciplined maneuvers, about unit cohesion, almost like a highly choreographed dance, if that dance involved sharp, pointy objects. The major historical fact we must acknowledge here is the Atlanteans' vast and powerful navy, which was crucial to their imperial expansion. Plato describes their fleet as numbering in the thousands, capable of deploying massive armies across the seas. This wasn't just a handful of dinghies. This was a maritime superpower, a force that could project its will across vast swaths of the ancient world. Imagine the sheer logistics of maintaining such a fleet. The shipyards constantly churning out new vessels, the vast supplies needed to keep them sailing. It puts our modern naval forces to shame in terms of sheer numbers, though perhaps not in terms of submarine technology. An obscure cultural tidbit that adds another layer to their military culture. The Atlanteans reportedly held regular festivals and parades to honor their warriors and celebrate their victories. These events were not just for pomp. They were also a way to instill pride and discipline, and to reinforce the idea of a cohesive, powerful state. Imagine a parade so grand, so filled with gleaming armor and disciplined ranks, that it would make a modern military tattoo look like a school play. It's almost as if they understood the importance of good PR for maintaining morale, even back then. As you stand amidst this quiet display of military might, a somber realization begins to settle over you. This power, this undeniable strength, stands in stark contrast to the earlier descriptions of a virtuous, peaceful society. Historians still debate whether this expansionist phase was a natural evolution of a powerful state, or a direct symptom of their increasing moral decay, a thirst for dominion overshadowing their earlier, nobler ideals. You feel a subtle shift in the air, a cool gust that whispers of change, of consequences. The light continues to fade, painting the western sky in fiery oranges and purples, a beautiful but almost ominous backdrop to the silent, disciplined movements of the Atlantean armed forces. It's the kind of sunset that makes you think, well, that escalated quickly. As dusk begins to truly descend upon Atlantis, the vibrant hues of sunset deepen into rich indigos and velvet purples, mirroring the shift in the city's underlying mood. The sounds of military drills have faded, replaced by the soft glow of lamps flickering to life throughout the city, casting a warm, inviting light upon the polished stone and gleaming orichalcum. Here, the orichalcum is most abundant, forming entire facades that now shimmer with an ethereal inner light, almost as if the very metal is breathing. The air here is heavy, not with the pleasant sense of gardens or markets, but with the faint, almost metallic tang of something grand, and perhaps just a little bit decadent. Began to perform increasingly elaborate and perhaps even cruel sacrifices, believing that greater offerings would grant them greater power and favor from the gods. This magnificent civilization, built on such noble foundations, now appears to be slowly, almost imperceptibly, losing its way. Historians still debate the exact tipping point of their moral decline. Was it a gradual erosion, or a series of critical choices that sealed their fate. The air grows cooler, and you might hear the distant cry of a night bird, a melancholy sound that seems to echo the quiet lament for a virtue slowly fading. Having conquered neighboring lands, their hunger for power grew insatiable. While temples were once places of simple reverence, they became increasingly adorned with precious metals and jewels, not for devotion, but for ostentation, a way to showcase their immense riches. Imagine a temple where the offerings weren't heartfelt prayers, but meticulously cataloged displays of expensive trinkets. It's like turning a spiritual retreat into a very exclusive, very shiny art gallery. Plato describes how they launched a massive military campaign, intending to subjugate the entire known world, pushing eastward towards Greece and Egypt. This once noble civilization, blessed with unprecedented resources and guided by divine lineage, chose a path of unchecked ambition. Historians still debate whether this shift was a deliberate choice by a few powerful individuals, or a gradual corruption that permeated the entire society, slowly eroding their collective conscience. The stillness of the night is broken by a faint, distant rumble, so subtle you might dismiss it as a trick of the mind. But it is there, a low, resonant vibration that seems to emanate from deep within the earth, a soft, almost imperceptible warning. It's the kind of sound that makes the hairs on your arms stand up, even if you can't quite put your finger on why. The stars continue to twinkle, utterly indifferent to the impending tragedy, silently bearing witness to the rise and fall of yet another grand human endeavor. This wasn't just about security or resources. It was about global domination, a thirst for power that eclipsed all other considerations. It's almost as if they decided to play a real-life game of Risk, but with actual consequences for everyone involved. It has the kind of evening that makes you want to curl up with a good book and a cup of something warm, far away from any impending historical catastrophe. This wasn't about humble gratitude anymore. It was about demanding divine assistance for their earthly ambitions. The city, bathed in the soft, golden light of its myriad lamps, still possesses an undeniable beauty, a mesmerizing glow that belies the internal turmoil now gripping its leadership. The quiet hum of the day has given way to an almost profound stillness, broken only by the gentle lapping of water in the canals and the occasional, distant call of a night watchman. It's the kind of silence that feels heavy, pregnant with unspoken anxieties, like the moments just before a really awkward family dinner. Imagine going from respectful veneration to actively trying to bribe the cosmos. It's like escalating your holiday gift-giving until you're essentially extorting Santa. Though you cannot enter, you feel the weight of the decisions made within these walls. Decisions that once guided a virtuous society and now threaten to unravel it. The very stones of the palace, still gleaming with orichalcum, seem to absorb the tension, radiating a subtle, almost imperceptible tremor. The intricate carvings on the walls, once depicting scenes of harmony and natural abundance, now seem to hold a hint of hubris, a subtle arrogance in the postures of the sculpted figures. You notice that while the artistry remains magnificent, there's an increasing emphasis on scale and opulence, a subtle shift from beauty to sheer grandeur. It has the difference between a perfectly tailored suit and one that is just a bit too flashy, trying too hard to impress. But beneath this inviting glow, you might sense a subtle tension, a quiet hum of something amiss. Their faces, while still composed, carry a certain weariness, a subtle hint of self-importance that was less evident among the common folk. They seemed less connected to the simple rhythms of daily life and more engrossed in grander, more abstract concerns, perhaps matters of state, or perhaps simply matters of who has the most impressive Orichalcum statue in their courtyard. It's almost as if they've forgotten that true power often resides in quiet wisdom, not just glittering displays. It's the kind of feeling you get when everyone at a party is smiling, but you know there's a delicate vase teetering on the edge of a table somewhere. You find yourself drawn towards the central Acropolis, the heart of the city, where the grandest temples and the king's palace are situated. You observe the Atlantean elite, distinguished by their richer garments and more elaborate adornments, moving through these hallowed spaces. The major historical fact we now encounter is the Atlanteans' increasing moral degradation and departure from their original divine principles. Plato describes how, over generations, the divine nature within them became diluted by human desires. Their initial virtues of wisdom, moderation, and humility slowly eroded, replaced by a lust for power, wealth, and external conquests. They began to forget the true source of their prosperity, attributing it instead to their own ingenuity and might. It's the classic tale of success breeding arrogance, a narrative as old as time, and one that still plays out in boardrooms today. An obscure cultural tidbit that underscores this shift: the Atlanteans who once revered their sacred bulls. As the last sliver of daylight fades, and the city becomes a constellation of soft, glowing lights, a profound sadness might settle over you. The night in Atlantis deepens, becoming a vast, inky canvas studded with countless stars, each one a distant, silent observer of the unfolding drama. You are now, perhaps, hovering near the very heart of Atlantean power, the Grand Council chambers within the palace complex. The major historical fact that defines this period is the Atlanteans' increasingly aggressive foreign policy and their ambition for universal dominion. An obscure cultural tidbit that reflects their growing materialism. The Atlanteans began to value excessive displays of wealth, even in their sacred spaces. As you linger in the cool night air, the beauty of the city under the stars feels tinged with a deep, pervasive sorrow. The subtle rumble you felt earlier in the night now feels a little less subtle, a little more insistent, a deep tremor that vibrates through the very ground beneath you. It's not violent, not yet, but it's enough to make the water in the canals ripple faintly, enough to cause a tiny, almost imperceptible shift in the air. The stars still blaze overhead, utterly unconcerned, but the serene calm of the Atlantean night is beginning to fray. The Orichalcum accents on the buildings, which had seemed to glow with a gentle internal light, now appear to shimmer with a nervous energy, catching the starlight in a restless dance. Began to conduct their most sacred rituals, including those involving the bull, with an almost vulgar display of their power rather than genuine piety. Historians still debate the exact theological or philosophical reasons for Plato's depiction of divine wrath, whether it was a literal punishment or a metaphorical consequence of their actions. But the message is clear. There are limits to human ambition, and boundaries that once crossed invite catastrophic retribution. The air, once so clear and fresh, now carries a faint, almost metallic taste, a precursor to something vast and elemental. The great ships in the harbor, previously serene, are now straining at their moorings, their timbers groaning loudly, almost as if they sense the coming upheaval. You watch as the water in the harbor begins to churn, not from wind or tide, but from an unseen force beneath the surface, a silent, powerful hand stirring the ocean depths. It's a sight that makes your stomach clench, a primal fear of the uncontrollable forces of nature. The air grows heavy, charged with an invisible energy, and the quiet lapping of the waves against the shore turns into a more insistent, anxious roar. Zeus, observing their arrogance and their attempts to subjugate the virtuous Athenians, decided to punish them with an unprecedented natural catastrophe. In their arrogance, reportedly continued to hold lavish feasts and public displays of their wealth, oblivious to the impending doom. Historians still debate the precise nature of the catastrophe Plato describes, whether it was a massive earthquake, a volcanic eruption, or a tsunami, or a combination of all three. But the outcome, in all accounts, was final and complete. You feel a distinct tremor, stronger than any before, sending a jolt through your very core. The ground beneath you seems to momentarily dip, then heave, a slow, deliberate motion that feels impossibly vast. The serene night sky, still studded with stars, seems to watch with an almost chilling indifference, bearing witness to the dramatic unfolding of divine retribution, or perhaps simply the brutal indifference of the earth. It is the kind of moment that makes you understand why ancient civilizations had such a healthy respect for the wrath of the gods. They were so wrapped up in their own perceived invincibility that they simply couldn't see the writing on the wall, or perhaps the cracks forming in the floor. It's like throwing a huge party while your house is subtly catching fire, convinced that your expensive decor will somehow make it all better. Their hubris extended even to the very threshold of disaster. This was not a minor inconvenience. It was a total and utter annihilation. Imagine an entire civilization at the pinnacle of its power and wealth, suddenly facing an existential threat from the very elements they thought they had mastered. It's the ultimate cosmic mic drop, really. You can almost hear the soft, almost imperceptible whisper of the earth itself, taking a deep, shuddering breath before a final, devastating sigh. They seem to believe that their material wealth and military might could somehow compel the divine to favor them. You feel the ground shift beneath your feet, a slow, deep pulse emanating from the earth's core. The magnificent Orichalcum surfaces that once glowed with serene light now seem to flicker erratically, reflecting the anxious swaying of trees and the frantic agitation of the water in the canals. It's like the planet itself is clearing its throat, preparing for a very loud announcement. The once orderly city now exhibits subtle signs of disquiet. A lamp might gently swing, a curtain might ripple without a breeze, tiny fractures beginning to appear in the grand facade of perfection, even as their moral compass spun wildly out of control. It's like believing that if you shout loudly enough, God will suddenly agree to your terms, regardless of your behavior. They truly believed their Orichalcum could buy them anything, even divine favor. It's the kind of tremor that makes you instinctively glance around, as if expecting something grand and unsettling to emerge from the shadows. You find yourself drawn towards the coastline, perhaps instinctively seeking the open expanse of the ocean. Here, the scent of salt air is stronger, and the rhythmic sound of waves breaking on the shore is a powerful counterpoint to the growing unease emanating from the city. Yet even the ocean seems different tonight. The waves seem to roll in with a greater force crashing against the meticulously constructed harbor walls with a power that feels less like a gentle embrace and more like a determined assault. It's almost as if nature itself is beginning to express its displeasure, delivering a subtle, aquatic warning. You might notice the subtle creaking of the grand ships docked in the harbor, their mighty timbers groaning under an unseen pressure. The major historical fact that Plato emphasizes at this critical juncture is the Atlanteans' final, aggressive push against Athens and its allies. Their insatiable ambition led them to launch a formidable invasion, aiming to conquer the last bastion of resistance in the eastern Mediterranean. This wasn't just another skirmish. It was a climatic struggle, a direct challenge to the forces of virtue and moderation represented by the Athenians. Imagine the sheer audacity, the unbridled confidence, to believe that you could simply sweep aside any opposition, simply because your ships were larger and your armies more numerous. It was a classic case of biting off more than you could chew, but on a truly colossal scale. An obscure cultural tidbit that makes their hubris even more pronounced. It suggested that the Atlanteans, in their final phase of decline, as the tremors grow in frequency and the distant murmur from the city seems to coalesce into a nervous hush, a profound sense of impending doom settles over you. The subtle tremors of the previous section have now intensified, no longer mere whispers but distinct rhythmic shudders that run through the very bedrock of Atlantis. You are still by the coastline, the ceaseless rhythm of the waves now punctuated by the deeper, more resonant thrum of the earth. The major historical fact, as relayed by Plato, is the divine judgment or cataclysmic natural disaster that befell. Atlantis as a result of its moral decay and imperialistic hubris. An obscure cultural tidbit that underscores their obliviousness. Despite the increasing signs of unrest and their own moral decline, the Atlantean elite, as the rumbling intensifies, growing in both frequency and intensity, a sense of quiet dread pervades the once proud city. The tremors now cease to be subtle. They are violent, bone-rattling jolts that throw you off balance. The ground buckles and groans, a terrifying symphony of destruction echoing from the depths of the earth. The very air around you is thick with the scent of pulverized stone and something acrid, a stark contrast to the fresh, salt-tinged breezes of before. The magnificent Orichalcum, once a symbol of their glory, now becomes a terrifying spectacle, reflecting the chaotic flashes of lightning that begin to crisscross the dark, roiling sky. Their sophisticated hydraulic systems, designed for irrigation and transport, became instruments of their destruction, channeling the invading waters deeper into the city. Their beautiful concentric canals, once arteries of life, became conduits of death. The ground continues to heave and rupture, sending fissures tearing through the very heart of the city. It sweeps over the outer rings of the city first, a silent, unstoppable force that devours everything in its path. The meticulously cultivated fields, the elegant villas, the very ground itself. Plato's account emphasizes the suddenness and totality of its disappearance. It wasn't a gradual sinking. It was a rapid, cataclysmic event that obliterated the entire landmass, consigning it to the depths of the ocean. Imagine witnessing an entire island, an entire civilization, simply vanish from the face of the earth in less than 24 hours. It's the kind of geological event that makes modern seismologists have nightmares, a stark reminder of the planet's raw, destructive potential. The sound is not a splash, but a continuous, terrifying roar, like 1,000 waterfalls merging into one, with its interconnected canals and low-lying structures, meant that once the massive tsunamis breached the outer defenses, the water was funneled inward, accelerating the destruction. Historians still debate whether such a rapid and total subsidence is geologically possible, or if Plato was employing hyperbole to emphasize the moral message of his tale. But the image he paints is one of profound finality. The last sounds are the gargling roar of the ocean, the splintering of wood, and then a terrible, profound silence. The storm clouds break, and through a ragged gap, you might glimpse a few stars, cold and indifferent, reflecting faintly on the now turbulent surface where Atlantis once stood. It's the kind of ending that leaves you with a lingering chill, a profound understanding of how quickly even the mightiest creations can return to dust, or in this case, to the silent, crushing depths of the sea. The very engineering that fostered their prosperity also facilitated their undoing. It's like building the perfect drainage system, only for it to act as a giant funnel during the apocalypse. Their own cleverness, in the end, became a cruel accomplice to their fate. The water is dark, not the clear, inviting blue of the Atlantean canals, but an opaque, churning mass filled with debris, a testament to the destruction it carries within its embrace. It is relentless, surging inward, consuming the city ring by ring, leaving no trace of what was before. Buildings that once stood proud and unwavering now list precariously, then collapse into mountains of rubble, sending plumes of dust and debris skyward, mingling with the roiling storm clouds. The very air is thick with the dust of shattered stone and the metallic tang of twisted orichalcum, no longer gleaming but dull and scarred by the unimaginable forces at play. This isn't just an earthquake. It's the very dismantling of a continent, a geological tantrum on an unprecedented scale. You can almost feel the deep, guttural roar of the earth as it swallows its creation whole. It's a bitter irony, a stark reminder that even the greatest human ingenuity can be rendered utterly powerless in the face of nature's unbridled wrath. Their greatest strength, in the end, became their greatest vulnerability. It's no longer just a tremor. It's a full-blown earthquake, ripping through the heart of the once impenetrable city. Historians still debate the scientific plausibility of such an instantaneous and complete destruction, though geological events like massive volcanic eruptions or submarine landslides could certainly generate similar effects. But in the context of Plato's narrative, it is a clear and decisive end. The beautiful light of the Orichalcum is extinguished, replaced by the chaotic flashes of lightning, illuminating scenes of unimaginable devastation. The once proud city, now a shattered ruin, begins its final, irrevocable descent into the churning, hungry maw of the ocean. It's the kind of sound and sight that makes you want to close your eyes, wishing you could unsee the raw, overwhelming power of nature unleashed. Imagine the sudden, horrifying realization that the very ground you stand on is betraying you, turning from solid foundation into a trembling, malevolent beast. You are no longer a detached observer. You are caught in the raw, terrifying embrace of the catastrophe. Buildings, once so grand and seemingly eternal, begin to sway precariously, their meticulously crafted stones groaning under an unbearable strain. Cracks, thin as spiderwebs at first, spider across facades, then widen into gaping maw, devouring entire sections of walls. The delicate balance of their architecture, once a point of pride, now proves to be its fatal flaw, as structures designed for stability on solid ground cannot withstand this violent upheaval. The sound of crumbling masonry, a deafening roar, fills the air, punctuated by the high-pitched shriek of metal, perhaps the twisting and tearing of the orichalcum as it buckles under the strain. It's like watching a meticulously constructed sandcastle dissolve under a rogue wave, only this time, the sandcastle is an entire civilization. The major historical fact, as vividly described by Plato, is the simultaneous occurrence of powerful earthquakes and floods, a dual catastrophe that sealed Atlantis' fate. The earth shook with unimaginable force, tearing the island apart, while massive tsunamis, generated by the seismic activity, swept over the land, engulfing everything in their path. This wasn't a slow drowning. It was a sudden violent deluge, a complete and utter overwhelm by the combined forces of earth and sea. Imagine being caught between a shaking world and a wall of water, nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. It's the kind of natural disaster that makes even the most jaded disaster movie director think, okay, that's a bit much. An obscure cultural tidbit that adds to the tragedy. The Atlanteans, despite their advanced knowledge, seem to have no effective defense against such a cataclysm. As the earth continues its violent convulsions, and the roar of the ocean grows into a deafening crescendo, a profound sense of loss washes over you. The world around you has transformed into a maelstrom of chaos. Then comes the water, not just a flood, but an overwhelming, colossal wall of ocean, rising from the churning depths. The major historical fact of this climactic moment is the utter and complete submergence of the island of Atlantis within a single day and night of misfortune. An obscure cultural tidbit tragically ironic in this moment. The very sophistication of the Atlanteans, concentric city design, as the ocean consumes the heart of the city. The once shining orichalcum structures disappear beneath the waves, their light extinguished forever. The maelstrom has subsided, leaving behind an eerie, profound silence. Where the magnificent city of Atlantis once stood, where the orichalcum gleamed and the canals hummed with life, there is now only the vast churning expanse of the ocean. Below, the surface of the sea is dark and restless, reflecting the few, pale stars that have emerged through the dissipating clouds. There are no signs of the city, no floating debris, no lingering evidence of the civilization that once thrived there. Local mariners reportedly encountered strange currents and impassable shallows in the region where Atlantis was said to have been reinforcing the tale of a sudden catastrophic sinking. These natural phenomena, perhaps remnants of volcanic activity or submarine landslides, contributed to the persistent legends and the difficulty of later expeditions to locate the lost city. And greens, utterly devoid of any visible trace of the magnificent city that once stood upon it. Not as a gleaming ruin, but likely as a shattered, disarticulated collection of debris, slowly being reclaimed by the ocean floor. The Orichalcum, once so vibrant and reflective, now lies dark and perhaps corroded, its inner glow extinguished, its metallic sheen dulled by centuries of saltwater and sediment. Across various cultures and continents, from the Celtic legends of Lyoness to the Japanese myth of Yonaguni-jima, there are countless tales of advanced civilizations swallowed by the sea. Historians and archaeologists continue to debate the inspiration behind Plato's story. Was it a distorted memory of a real flood event, a cautionary philosophical tale, or a combination of both? The question hangs in the air, unanswered, tantalizing. The ocean below remains silent, holding its secrets close, allowing only the gentle sigh of the wind to whisper over its surface. It's the kind of quiet evening that encourages contemplation, a gentle invitation to ponder the fine line between history and myth and the enduring power of a good story. This universal human fascination with what lies beneath, with the idea of a vanished golden age, suggests a deep-seated archetype in our collective consciousness, a yearning for lost perfection. It makes you wonder if every culture secretly believes they had the coolest ancient city that just decided to take a permanent vacation underwater. The grand structures, if any remain relatively intact, are surely unrecognizable, mere husks swallowed by the abyssal gloom. It's a landscape of unimaginable pressure and perpetual darkness, a graveyard of dreams and ambitions, far removed from the sunlit plazas and bustling canals of its former life. Imagine the ultimate out-of-sight, out-of-mind scenario, but on a geological scale. The wind, which carried the dust of destruction just moments ago, now blows clean and cool, laden only with the fresh scent of salt. Despite countless expeditions, technological advancements, and passionate searches across various oceanic locations, no universally accepted physical proof of a lost continent or advanced civilization matching Plato's description has ever been found. This absence is in itself a powerful piece of the puzzle, reinforcing the mythological or allegorical interpretations of the tale. It's like looking for a unicorn in your backyard. You can believe in it all you want, but without hoof prints, it remains a delightful fantasy. The sun, having completed its journey across the sky, now dips low on the horizon, painting the clouds in fiery oranges and soft purples, a breathtaking display that seems utterly indifferent to the tragedy that unfolded beneath its gaze. It's a stark reminder of nature's immense beauty and its equally immense, impartial power. You might feel a gentle pull, a yearning to understand what truly lies beneath those deceptively calm waters. It's almost as if the ocean itself was guarding its secret, ensuring that Atlantis remained shrouded in myth, a tantalizing whisper on the wind. The ocean has claimed its prize completely, pulling Atlantis and all its inhabitants into its crushing embrace. Historians still debate whether Plato intended his narrative as a literal historical account, or as a powerful allegory about the dangers of hubris and the inevitable consequences of moral decline. Regardless, the story of Atlantis has resonated through millennia, a timeless cautionary tale. The silence is broken only by the gentle sigh of the wind across the vast ocean, a lament for what was and what might have been. There is no triumph, no victory here, only the cold, indifferent expanse of the sea, patiently holding its ancient secrets in its crushing depths. It's the kind of quiet, reflective moment that makes you ponder the fleeting nature of all things, even those built with the gleaming beauty of Orichalcum. It's a testament to the sheer, unbridled power of nature, a power that laughs at human ambition and architectural marvels. Imagine erasing an entire continent from the map, not over millennia, but in a single, devastating day and night. It's a trick that would make even the most ambitious illusionist green with envy. The air, once thick with dust and the metallic scent of destruction, has cleared, leaving behind only the crisp, clean tang of salt and the chilling emptiness of loss. The tempestuous waves have lessened their fury, settling into a more rhythmic, mournful swell, as if the ocean itself is sighing after such a monumental effort. It's the kind of silence that echoes, a vast emptiness where once there was life and grandeur. You can almost feel the absence, a gaping void in the very fabric of the world. You are now suspended above this watery grave, observing the aftermath from a great distance. The major historical fact that concludes Plato's account of Atlantis is its total disappearance beneath the waves, leaving behind only a muddy, impassable shoal where the once navigable channels had been. This detail is crucial. It not only describes the physical destruction, but also explains why no one could later sail to or rediscover the immediate area of the vanished island. The very force of the sinking created a permanent obstruction, a natural barrier, ensuring that Atlantis would remain lost, a phantom memory. This wasn't just a city gone. It was an entire marine geography transformed, permanently altered by the sheer violence of the event. An obscure cultural tidbit that adds to the lingering mystery. For centuries after the alleged event, as you gaze down at the dark, swirling waters, a profound sense of finality settles over you. The vast expanse of the ocean now stretches before you, an endless tapestry of deep blues. Below the surface, in the crushing, silent depths, Atlantis lies. The major historical fact that comes into play here, often overlooked in the dramatic telling, is the persistent absence of definitive archaeological evidence for Atlantis' existence. An obscure cultural tidbit that underscores the ongoing fascination. The legends of lost cities and sunken lands are not unique to ancient Greece. As the last sliver of the sun dips below the horizon, and the stars begin to prickle through the darkening sky, a sense of profound mystery envelops the scene. The night sky above the vast Atlantic is now a brilliant canvas, ablaze with stars, each one a tiny pinprick of ancient light, gazing down upon the silent, unknowable depths. The air is cool and crisp, carrying the profound quiet of open ocean, punctuated only by the gentle rhythm of the waves. There is no sound of cities, no hum of distant human endeavor, just the immense breathing quiet of the planet itself. It's the kind of silence that makes you feel incredibly small, and yet, paradoxically, deeply connected to something vast and eternal. Imagine setting sail into the unknown, not just for trade routes, but for a chance encounter with a mythological utopia. Historians still debate the specific interpretations and misinterpretations of Plato's text over the centuries, noting how various cultures and movements have molded the myth to fit their own narratives, sometimes for noble purposes, sometimes for rather dubious ones. But the enduring power of the story, regardless of its factual basis, is undeniable. The Orichalcum, if any survived the crushing pressures and corrosive salts, would be indistinguishable from other mineral deposits, its legendary glow dimmed forever, a metaphor for lost glory. Despite the lack of definitive proof, the allure of the myth continues to inspire genuine scientific inquiry, with researchers exploring various geological formations, submarine plateaus, and ancient coastlines that might, however remotely, correspond to Plato's descriptions. A vast area of the Atlantic characterized by its unique ecosystem of floating sargassum seaweed, which can indeed be dense enough to impede navigation. Historians still debate the enduring psychological appeal of the Atlantis myth. Why does it continue to captivate us, even in an age of reason and scientific discovery? Perhaps it's a testament to our innate desire for hidden knowledge, for the idea that there's always more to discover, always a secret waiting beneath the surface. The ocean below, dark and impenetrable, seems to hold its breath, preserving its ancient mysteries, inviting you to simply listen to the quiet murmur of its endless waves, a gentle reminder that some stories, even if not literally true, can echo through eternity. Imagine navigating through miles of dense, golden seaweed and hearing whispers of a drowned city beneath your keel. It certainly adds a layer of eerie plausibility to an already captivating mystery, giving you something to chew on when you're stuck in modern-day traffic. It's like a cosmic scavenger hunt, but with multi-million-dollar equipment and the hope of rewriting history. While many scientific expeditions typically conclude that the story is a fictional narrative, the pursuit itself keeps the legend alive in a uniquely modern way. The vibrant life of the city, the laughter, the debates, the very breath of its people, all dissolved into the currents, leaving no echo. It's a sobering thought, how easily even the grandest human endeavors can be erased by time and tide. It taps into something fundamental within the human spirit, a fascination with what is lost, a longing for perfection, and a deep-seated fear of consequences. The ocean below remains a silent, swirling mystery, holding within its depths not just water, but the collective hopes and fears of humanity, reflected in the enduring tale of a city that once perhaps shone with orichalcum light. It's the kind of quiet night that leaves you with more questions than answers, and perhaps a gentle understanding of the human heart's enduring capacity for wonder. It adds a rather charming, romantic dimension to the often brutal realities of colonial expansion, though probably didn't help with their navigation much. The constant rhythmic whisper of the waves against the hull of our unseen vessel is a hypnotic lullaby, an ancient song that predates human memory. This is the Atlantic now, a boundless expanse of water under an equally boundless sky, the same sky that once witnessed the impossible rise and dramatic fall of Atlantis. It's a space of immense quiet, where the human voice feels small, almost unnecessary. You might find yourself unconsciously taking deeper, slower breaths, inhaling the vastness, allowing the quiet to fill you. You might find yourself searching the constellations, wondering if any of them held special significance to the Atlanteans, or if they too looked up at these same patterns millennia ago, before their light was extinguished. Below, the ocean continues its ceaseless internal churn, a dark, impenetrable veil over the secrets it holds. Imagine the immense pressure down there, the cold, the perpetual darkness. Any remnants of the once proud structures, if they survived the initial cataclysm, would now be subject to the slow, relentless erosion of deep-sea currents and the gradual accumulation of sediment. The Orichalcum, even if it somehow retained its form, would be unrecognizable, perhaps encrusted with marine life, a ghostly echo of its former glory. It's a reminder that even the most advanced materials eventually yield to the patient, persistent forces of nature. The ocean, it seems, has an infinite amount of time and an unparalleled ability to clean up after dramatic events. The major historical fact we delve into now is the cultural impact and enduring legacy of the Atlantis myth throughout history. From ancient philosophers and medieval cartographers to Renaissance humanists and modern New Age enthusiasts, the story of Atlantis has captivated imaginations for over 2 millennia. It has inspired countless books, artworks, films, and scientific expeditions, becoming a powerful archetype for a lost golden age, a technologically advanced civilization, or a cautionary tale of hubris. It's a story that simply refuses to fade, like that one annoying song that gets stuck in your head for days. An obscure cultural tidbit that highlights its pervasive influence. During the age of exploration, some explorers and theorists genuinely believed they might stumble upon Atlantis in their voyages across the Atlantic, hoping to find not just a new continent, but perhaps even the fabled lost civilization itself. As the night deepens and the stars wheel slowly across the heavens, the very absence of Atlantis becomes its most powerful presence. The cool, refreshing breeze of the deep ocean continues to drift over you, carrying with it the subtle, earthy scent of distant land, though no land is visible on the vast, star-dusted horizon. Below the surface, in the unimaginable silence of the abyssal plain, The remnants of Atlantis, if they exist as a physical entity, would be mere geological anomalies, slowly being buried under layers of sediment, forgotten by all but the most patient of tectonic shifts. The major historical fact that ties into this present moment is the modern-day scientific search for Atlantis, often utilizing advanced sonar, satellite imagery, and deep-sea exploration technologies. An obscure cultural tidbit that underscores the ongoing quest. Some modern theorists propose that the muddy shoals Plato described after the sinking of Atlantis could refer to the Sargasso Sea. As the night stretches on and the constellations continue their slow, majestic dance across the sky, a quiet sense of possibility hangs in the air. The night sky remains an unbroken vault of twinkling stars, stretching to an invisible horizon where the gentle curve of the earth meets the deep void of space. The air is cool and dry, carrying only the faintest whisper of the ocean's breath. The rhythmic sway of your unseen position now feels less like motion and more like a gentle, perpetual rocking, designed to lull rather than propel. It's a cosmic cradle, drifting over an ancient secret, a testament to the enduring power of a story that transcends generations. These interpretations often blend Plato's account with other mythological elements, creating intricate narratives that extend far beyond historical or scientific inquiry. Imagine a spiritual retreat where the main focus is channeling the wisdom of ancient Atlantean high priests, complete with very expensive crystals. The air remains cool, clean, and utterly still, punctuated only by the gentle, hypnotic ebb and flow of the waves below, and slowly, imperceptibly, burying the last theoretical vestiges of what was. Even if the Orichalcum had once gleamed with a divine fire, even if the city walls had stood for ages, the ocean always wins. From artistic movements to political ideologies, to symbolize a resurgence of lost knowledge, a return to a golden age, or the emergence of a new enlightened society. It demonstrates how a tale of destruction can also inspire hope for renewal, a rather beautiful paradox. Let the soft, rhythmic lapping of the water against an unseen shore be the final sound you carry with you. Imagine the smooth, cool stones of an ancient path, gently warmed by a long-vanished sun. Feel the light, steady breath in your lungs, a tranquil rhythm that matches the world's own quiet turning. The air is soft, carrying faint whispers of dreams, memories of places both real and imagined. Your eyelids feel heavy, a pleasant weight, pulling you gently down into the quiet, dark comfort of sleep. The mystery of Atlantis, like the quiet of the night, holds its secrets close, inviting you to simply rest, to let go, and to drift. There is nothing more to do, nowhere else to be, just the quiet, just the peace. Good night. So even in its disappearance, Atlantis continues to inspire us to build better, to strive for more, or at least to be a little less arrogant. It is the ultimate recycler, the tireless eraser of all that is temporary. The very notion of Atlantis as a physical place has now fully receded into the realm of geological time, a whisper swallowed by the enormity of the deep. It's a powerful lesson in humility, isn't it? That even the most magnificent human achievements are but fleeting moments in the grand, patient saga of the planet. It's the kind of quiet that cradles you, a stillness so profound it feels almost like a benevolent presence, watching over the deep, ancient secrets slumbering beneath the surface. Whether it was a lost continent, a philosophical construct, or a distorted memory of a real-world cataclysm, its story has served as a mirror for human aspirations, fears, and wisdom. It reminds us of the allure of utopia, the dangers of unchecked ambition, and the fragility of even the greatest civilizations. It is a story that warns us, gently, that pride often comes before a truly dramatic fall, and that even Orichalcum can't save you from a very bad day. You might feel your breathing growing deeper, slower, synchronizing with the timeless rhythm of the ocean, a quiet surrender to the calm. It certainly gives new meaning to the term ancient history. The story, like the ocean itself, is vast and deep, full of currents and hidden depths. It's a story not just of a lost city, but of humanity's eternal dance between ambition and humility, between creation and destruction. The details of the Orichalcum, the concentric rings, the bull leaping, they all fade now, leaving behind only the profound echo of a timeless narrative. You might feel a lightness, a sense of detachment from the tangible world, as you float in this timeless space between myth and reality. Historians still debate the specific psychological functions the Atlantis myth serves for humanity. Perhaps it as a way to process anxieties about technological progress, or a yearning for a simpler, more virtuous past, or even a deep-seated fear of our own destructive capabilities. The ocean below remains a testament to both nature's power and humanity as enduring fascination with its own stories. It is silent, vast, and eternal, holding not just water, but the echoes of a tale that has captivated minds for millennia. You might feel a gentle pull towards sleep, your thoughts drifting on the quiet currents of imagination, the lines between fact and fiction blurring in the comforting embrace of the deep, dark night. Below, the deep ocean floor stretches out, a vast, unexplored landscape of abyssal plains, towering seamounts and hydrothermal vents, all hidden from the sun's touch. Any traces of a drowned civilization, even if they existed, would by now be utterly transformed by the immense pressures, the crushing cold and the slow, relentless creep of geological time. The Orichalcum, if it had any unique properties, would long ago have been assimilated into the geological fabric, perhaps forming unique mineral deposits that only the keenest scientific instruments might one day detect. It's a reminder that the Earth is a patient, powerful sculptor, capable of erasing even the grandest human canvases. The idea of finding a perfectly preserved city down there is as fanciful, as full, as finding a fully stocked grocery store at the bottom of your bathtub. The major historical fact that brings us to the present is the resurgence of interest in Atlantis during periods of profound societal change or technological advancement. The 19th century, with its burgeoning fields of geology and archaeology, saw renewed attempts to scientifically locate Atlantis. Similarly, the 20th century, with its deep-sea exploration capabilities and the advent of New Age philosophies, brought fresh waves of speculation and search. The myth seems to provide a flexible framework onto which different eras project their hopes, fears, and new understandings of the world. It's almost as if every generation needs its own version of a lost paradise, a secret to discover. An obscure cultural tidbit that showcases this adaptability. Some esoteric traditions and spiritual movements have incorporated Atlantis into their belief systems, positing it as the source of ancient wisdom, advanced psychic abilities, or a precursor to modern spiritual enlightenment. As the stars continue their silent procession across the velvet expanse, a profound quiet settles over the scene, a quiet that invites contemplation. The stars, having traversed much of their nightly journey, now begin to dim ever so slightly, a faint precursor to the coming dawn. Though here, over the vast open ocean, dawn is still hours away. Below, in the unimaginable abyss, the deep currents continue their slow, ceaseless work, gently sculpting the ocean floor, nudging sediments. The enduring major fact about Atlantis as we close this journey is its role as a powerful metaphor and cultural touchstone, far outweighing any literal historical claim. An obscure cultural tidbit that illustrates its metaphoric power. The phrase Atlantis Rising has been used in various contexts throughout history as the quiet of the deep night embraces you fully, and the stars continue their silent vigil. Our journey to Atlantis draws to a close. You are no longer floating above the waves, but gently settling, drifting effortlessly into a peaceful embrace.